What's up, grinders? I am so kind of fired up, really. It's Monday. It's Monday morning. We're waking up. Everything ahead of us, right? And so I'm happy, first off, that you decided to log in with me to view this episode. Listen, if you hadn't already, do yourself a favor. Do the people that you love a favor. Do your agents, if you've got agents out there, do them a favor, right? First off, make sure you subscribe to this channel, number one. That's the favor that I'm asking you to do yourself and do me, right? Number two, hit that alert button. Every single Monday morning, we're going to be putting out fresh, new content and make sure that it's relevant for you. The third thing I'll ask is that you go ahead and share it, right? That's the favor for your team. That's the favor for your team, that you go ahead and share it with them, that you would, if you got value out of it, that you would give them the same value that you got out of it. Just share it, right? And so as we get into this thing, today I just kind of wanted to talk about really the overarching theme of what we do, right? Our roles as insurance agents and what that really means, right? I think a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in the fact that this is, how we generate our revenue and our income, but it's a little bit more of that. The dynamics are a little bit bigger than that, right? And I think the downfall for some agents is they can't really figure out how to create the right value for the client, right? I get asked many times, how is it that your closing ratio so high when you book 10 appointments and you sit down with 8 individuals that you're going to write 8 applications and it's going to seem like a 100% closing ratio, and I get the same struggles as everybody else, right? I am no stranger to the same objections that everybody else gets, right? I'm no stranger to, at the end of the meeting, somebody saying, you know what, I really need to think about it. I'm no stranger to, at the end of the meeting, somebody saying, you know what, I'm not going to pay that amount for that amount of coverage. I'm no stranger to that, right? I've seen it before, right? And the thing is, I know I'll see it again. I'll see it again. I'm experienced enough to understand that these same objections that people come up with our client, they're educated, right? They've been to sales school, so to speak. They've been around a while. They've seen some things. They've heard some things, right? And novice agent Jeremy Whitaker would go out, and I would treat a client as if it were simply a lead, right? Just if it were simply a lead. And I think a lot of people do the exact same thing. For instance, you get a mortgage protection lead. Client wants to pay off their mortgage, in the event somebody passes away or if they got sick, right? Well, we've got this mortgage protection lead. So in your mind, especially as a novice agent, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to give them whatever they qualify for as far as mortgage protection. Works, absolutely. The problem becomes when my client is 73 and had a heart attack a year and a half ago and had a stent put in, at that time, and had another stent put in 6 months ago. And now where do I go and what do I do and how do I help this person pay off their $150,000 mortgage? It's how am I thinking about the issue itself, right? I've had other times where people have called, I've called somebody up from sending in a lead, and they say, hey, you know what? I don't even have a mortgage. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't have a mortgage. Everything is paid off. And novice agent would go, you know what? I'm so sorry. Let me get your case closed out. And I was off the phone, right? It wasn't until I figured out that my real job, my real role, is to help a client solve problems, right? That's it boils down to, I've got to identify and help this client to identify where their problem is, and I've got to put together a strategy to help them to solve it, right? And so I've had a client, there again, this is the 73-year-old I'm talking about, right? 6 months ago had a stent put in, is married to a 59-year-old, still working, but wants to retire at some point, right? He's the bulk of the income, retired military, and has a pension as well from some outside work that he's done. 6 months ago, had a stint. So everything that comes up is graded options, some guaranteed issue, obviously, things of that nature, right? And $150,000 mortgage, sent this thing in, put out all this info. I call him up, I gather the information. I'm thinking to myself, I know there's only a few options. There's only a few options as far as protecting the mortgage. Well, for this client, we sit down, we get to going through their information, uncovering kind of what things look like, asking the tough questions, right? What would it look like should something happen? Where would you want to live? Would you want to live in this house? And I'm asking Martha, that's the wife's name. Martha, would you want to live in this house? Do you see yourself as going to travel the country, downsizing, moving in with kids? What do you think would happen, right? Well, in her case, she says, well, it's too much house for me. I don't see myself leaving the area, but I'm going to want to downsize. Perfect. Great. I'm saving this information for later. And then we go into talking about kind of his income, where it sits. Figure out he's still got some money vulnerable. It's vulnerable. It's out there. It's in the market, right? He's losing money. If you've been around the last little while, this guy's losing money in the market. And it says, well, how much more can you afford to lose? Because we figured out, looking at his statements, how much we had lost, right? In his case, it wasn't really horrible at that point because things had just started to turn south. $25,000. How much more can you afford to lose? He says, none of it. Okay, great. We'll write that. We'll write that down. Okay. We go into thinking about health. And also thinking about what would happen if something happens to her income and what that would look like for him, what all the possibilities were. And we come to find out that not only did we need to protect his investments, his retirement, no big. We can write an annuity, we can roll that over, actually did some F&G, roll that over into an F&G annuity. And we were able to also figure out that his situation wasn't going to be as horrible as hers. She only made about $2,000 a month, and he was making about $7,000, right? But $2,000 a month. We asked, okay, so would you feel that the impact of that income leaving the home? What would that be like? He said, scary, at least for a little while, right? Because they had some other credit card debt, some things that they were paying off from this medical, and so he knew by himself can't really deal with it. What we did not do is we did not find a policy for $150,000 or tried to. We didn't even try to find a policy for $150,000 pay off the mortgage. They had equity in the home, didn't need it necessarily paid off. We needed to stop the bleed and them losing income, right? So that was protected. He could leave that behind should something happen. We wanted to make sure, number one, that we replaced that income. That we replaced the income that he was going to be feeling the loss on. And he said, if we could really, just long enough to get me to pay these debts down. How much debts are we? Added it up. We got a policy, a whole life policy put in place for her, $35,000, right? To say, okay, as long as you got debt, that's enough to pay that debt off, really, right? But that's enough also to replace that income to get you through paying that debt off. So it feels like nothing ever happens, at least from a financial standpoint, right? Back to the client that I was talking about that didn't have a mortgage, right? I get this one all the time. Don't have a mortgage. Well, just stay on the phone with me for a minute. Let me start to kind of put my notes together so I can figure out why it is that you ended up with this card and things of that nature, and start asking questions. What I figured out is if I can keep a client on the phone, I've got a chance of getting some kind of a sale there, right? Maybe it wasn't about the mortgage protection. A lot of times I've had 2 or 3 cases where we ended up uncovering opportunities for final expenses. Great, I know you got the letter or you got the card and you call it in, and a lot of people just see where it says death and they're like, well, I need some life insurance. And so I'm assuming that was your case. How much life insurance coverage were you really looking for? And you'd be surprised. How many people will say, well, first off, you will get, no, I wasn't looking for life insurance. Got enough, don't need it. You'll get that too, right? Don't get me wrong. Not everybody's going to tell you I need it. But you will be surprised how many people say 10,000. Well, if I had 15,000, that'd be enough to bury me, right? Oh, I'd like to be able to leave my grandkids 5,000 each. How many grandkids you got? Oh, I got 6. Okay, great. How can I uncover the opportunity, right, itself, instead of biting the money on this lead and saying, you know what, next, right? Yeah, there's some power in next, but sometimes we hit that next button too soon. Too soon. Listen, on a Monday morning, I just want to remind everybody that there are endless opportunities awaiting. Endless opportunities to make a difference in somebody's life and to solve the problems that they have, and they know they've got them. They just hadn't identified exactly what that pain point is, where it would hurt if such and such happened. And my role as an insurance agent is to ask the hard questions, to ask more questions. Well, if I don't know what questions to ask, listen, I'm telling you, if you start asking questions, if you think about your own situation, maybe you're young or maybe you're older, it doesn't matter. If you think about somebody you know's situation and what happened to them, if I start to formulate my questions around that, I will understand how it is that I can make the most impact, right? How it is that I can solve the most pressing problems. And because if I can solve those problems, I'm going to be compensated for providing a solution for those problems. Listen, on a Monday morning, I just want to tell you, have a great week. Go out and crush it. Let's go out and hit all of our goals. If you don't have one, set one now. If you got a small one, set one bigger. Let's go and get it done. See you later, Grinders.